Did you know over 73 million heavy metal records were sold by just 5 of the stars on this list before their careers imploded almost overnight? From a fatal car crash that cost $2.5 million in damages to a bat-biting incident that shocked the entire world. Here are 20 heavy metal stars who ruined their careers in seconds. 1. Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne became famous for his voice, but even more for his wild ways. Some people loved the craziness. Others saw a man on the edge. In 1982, in Iowa, Ozzy did something that shocked the world. On stage, he bit the head off a live bat. The crowd screamed, and the story spread everywhere. Ozzy said he didn't know it was real. Still, he had to get shots for rabies. That act followed him for years. It became the thing people talked about more than his music. That wasn't all. Just a short time earlier, he got arrested in Texas for peeing near a famous monument. It wasn't just a ticket. It got him banned from playing in San Antonio for years. Cities were turning their backs. Fans were confused. Was Ozzy just trying to shock the world, or was he falling apart? His life was full of drinking and trouble, and it showed. In 1979, Black Sabbath let him go. They couldn't deal with his problems anymore. Ozzy started a solo career, and while it had great moments, his name was still tied to the wild side. Every time he did something strange, it made headlines. People stopped listening to the songs and started watching the chaos. Ozzy had a gift, but he wrapped it in madness. The man behind the voice became the man behind the mess. His career could have reached higher, but he kept pulling it down with each crazy act. Ozzy Osbourne is a reminder that fame is not forever, especially when bad choices keep stealing the spotlight. 2. Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett was strange and brilliant when he arrived on the music scene. He helped start Pink Floyd and shape their early identity. He wrote strange lyrics, built unusual sounds, and pushed the band into new territory. Songs like See Emily Play didn't sound like anything else. Audiences didn't know what to make of him, but they listened. Then things shifted. Barrett began using substances heavily. At first, it seemed to feed his imagination. Then it started breaking him down. He grew distant and unpredictable. On stage, he'd stop playing or strum a single chord for minutes. In the studio, he'd stare at nothing or play nonsense. Bandmates tried to help, but no one knew what to do. Rehearsals became impossible. They brought in David Gilmour to support him. At first, the idea was to keep Barrett as the lead writer, while Gilmour handled performance. But Barrett couldn't hold it together. His thoughts were scattered. Songs came out half-finished or incoherent. Eventually, the band moved on without him. They didn't even tell him right away. One day, they just didn't pick him up for a show. That was the quiet end of his time in Pink Floyd. 3. Tommy Lee, Motley Crue. Tommy Lee wasn't just the drummer for Motley Crue. He was often the center of the band's chaos, both on and off the stage. Known for his hard-hitting style and wild personality, Tommy helped define the band's over-the-top image. But there was a darker side that kept pushing into the spotlight. In 1998, Lee was sentenced to 6 months in jail for an act of violence against his wife, an incident that marked a sharp turn in public opinion. This wasn't some minor scuffle swept under the rug. It forced fans and critics to reconsider the band's image. The flashy performances and glam style weren't enough to hide what happened behind closed doors. It wasn't just bad press. It was a turning point where Tommy's name became attached to violence rather than just music. After jail, he tried to steer his career back on track. There were side projects, reunions, and attempts to reclaim his musical identity, but the shadow of his actions stayed. Paparazzi followed his every move, not for music, but for controversy. Even when Motley Crue came back together for tours, people looked at Tommy through the lens of his legal past. Some fans stuck with him, while others couldn't separate the artist from the man. Over time, his role as a drummer became almost secondary to the public persona built around scandal, failed marriages, and courtroom drama. While the drums kept pounding, the damage to his reputation echoed louder. 4. Dave Mustaine, Megadeth. Dave Mustaine's path in metal music reads like a mix of triumph and self-destruction. He was part of Metallica's early days, helping shape their sound. But before they recorded their first album, he was kicked out due to his drinking, fighting, and erratic behavior. That rejection fueled his drive, and he formed Megadeth with a mission to outdo the band that left him behind. Megadeth found success, but the issues that got Dave into trouble in Metallica didn't go away. Struggles with illegal substances followed him for years, as did his short temper and sharp tongue. Mustaine has made headlines for picking fights with other musicians, making controversial political and religious comments, and being difficult to work with. His career is a case study in how raw talent can sometimes be buried under attitude and conflict. While his guitar skills and songwriting are rarely questioned, the personal baggage has made collaboration and respect harder to maintain. Bandmates have come and gone, and Megadeth's lineup has changed repeatedly. Fans remain divided. Some admire his drive and musical vision, while others are exhausted by the drama. His legacy includes iconic albums, but also years of tension that could have been avoided. 5. Vince Neil, Motley Crue. Vince Neil had it all: money, fame, a band on top of the world. But one bad night changed his story forever. On December 8, 1984, Vince made a choice he could never undo. He drank too much and got behind the wheel of his car. That decision turned into a disaster. He crashed head-on into another car. His friend Razzle, the drummer from Hanoi Rocks, was in the passenger seat. He didn't survive. 2 others in the other car were badly hurt. Just like that, lives were shattered. Vince wasn't just in a crash. He caused pain that would follow everyone forever. Police charged him with drunk driving and for being responsible for the crash. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail, but only served 18. Still, the damage was done. He had to pay $2.5 million to the victims. But money couldn't fix what had happened. That night became a weight he would carry forever. It never went away. The fans didn't forget. The media didn't forget. The name Vince Neil became linked to a night of heartbreak. 6. Scott Weiland, Velvet Revolver. Scott Weiland had a voice that could switch from smooth to rough in a single line. He led Stone Temple Pilots during the grunge wave of the 1990s. The band had hits, big ones. Weiland's style, part glam, part grunge, set him apart. He wasn't copying others. He had his own way. But the highs didn't last. Addiction followed him constantly. His time in and out of rehab became part of the story. His bandmates struggled to keep up with his behavior. Arguments broke out. Tour plans got canceled. Albums got delayed. When Stone Temple Pilots broke up, Weiland joined Velvet Revolver, made up of Guns N' Roses veterans. They released a successful album. It seemed like a second chance, but old habits came back. Illegal substance use returned. Tensions grew. By 2008, Velvet Revolver had enough. Weiland was out again. He kept trying, reuniting with old bandmates, starting solo projects, but nothing stuck. His voice was still strong, but his body and mind were worn down. He looked older than he was. He sounded tired. In 2015, he was found lifeless on a tour bus. Illegal substances were the cause. Even in the end, he was still on the road, still trying to recapture what he'd lost. 7. Phil Anselmo, Pantera. Phil Anselmo stood tall at the front of Pantera, screaming with power and owning the stage. Fans loved his fire, his strength, and his sound. But behind all that power was a man slipping into trouble, one bad choice at a time. In 1996, after a loud and wild concert, Phil went too far. He took illegal substances and his heart stopped. For 5 whole minutes, he was gone. Paramedics brought him back, but that near-death moment shook his world. His bandmates were scared, hurt, and angry. Fans were shocked. Trust was broken, and the problems didn't stop there. In 1995, during a show in Montreal, he said something on stage that many people called racist. The crowd was stunned. News spread fast. Fans started turning away. Phil later said he was drunk and didn't mean it, but some things can't be taken back. Words matter, and those words hurt his image badly. His powerful voice now sounded different to many. He tried to explain, tried to apologize, but the damage stuck. Phil's name started to slip. The band was no longer as strong. People in the heavy metal world began to whisper. Could they still support him? Could they still believe in him? Between illegal substances and poor choices, Phil turned a great career into a rocky road. He had the talent, but he kept stepping on cracks. And every time he tried to rise, his past pulled him back down. The stage was still there, but the light wasn't as bright. Phil Anselmo is a story of how strength can fall. One moment of violence to himself, one moment of the wrong words, and everything changed. His voice didn't go away, but the world around it did. 8. Michael Hutchence, INXS. Michael Hutchence had a voice that carried across stadiums. He didn't just sing, he owned the stage. With INXS, he helped define pop rock in the 1980s and early 1990s. The band had hit after hit, and Hutchence was front and center. But behind the stage lights, his life unraveled. He suffered a head injury in 1992 that may have changed his brain. Friends noticed a shift. He grew moodier. He drank more. Illegal substances entered the picture. He argued with bandmates, and his romantic relationships became storms of their own. By the mid-1990s, the energy that powered INXS started to dim. Hutchence looked worn out. In 1997, he was found lifeless in a hotel room. Reports pointed to a tragic and self-inflicted end. His passing shocked fans and left INXS without the voice that had carried them through their prime. The band tried to continue, but something was missing. Hutchence's mix of confidence and danger couldn't be replaced. His story remains a hard example of how fame can't protect someone from inner collapse. 9. Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads was a guitar wizard. Every note he played lit up the room. People saw him as the future of rock music. He played with Ozzy Osbourne and brought a fresh sound that fans loved. But even with all that talent, Randy felt something was wrong. The noise, the chaos, the pressure, it was too much. He didn't like the path the band was taking. The fighting, the loud parties, the fast life, it wasn't what he wanted anymore. Randy dreamed of something quieter. He wanted to study classical guitar, go back to school, and focus on real music. He didn't want to play the same wild songs over and over. He wanted to grow. Behind the scenes, people were getting kicked out of the band. Randy didn't agree with it. He felt trapped, stuck in a world he didn't fully believe in. He told people he was thinking about leaving. He wanted to find his own path. 10. Ian Watkins, Lost Prophets. Ian Watkins was once seen as a rising star. Lost Prophets had a strong fan base and a sound that blended heavy music with pop appeal. They filled venues, got radio play, and stood out in a crowded scene. But Watkins was hiding something horrifying. In 2013, he was convicted of multiple disturbing crimes involving children. The details were sickening. His fans were stunned, bandmates horrified, and the public reaction swift and harsh. The band didn't just break up, they disowned him completely. Lost Prophet's music vanished from playlists, shelves, and public memory. No one wanted to hear his voice again. Watkins was sentenced to nearly 3 decades behind bars, and even there, he faced constant danger from other inmates. His case became one of the most extreme examples of a musician's career being rightfully destroyed. The betrayal wasn't just of his fans, but of basic human decency. Nothing from his career could be salvaged. No one tried. In his case, the fall wasn't slow. It was immediate and absolute. 11. Tim Lambesis, As I Lay Dying. Tim Lambesis wasn't just the frontman of As I Lay Dying, he was a symbol of the band's success in the metalcore scene. They built a loyal following, toured the world, and released albums that climbed charts. But behind the scenes, Tim's life was falling apart. In 2013, the music world was shocked when he was arrested for attempting to hire someone to eliminate his estranged wife. The plan was real, and the fallout was instant. Tim pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. The band fell apart, fans turned away, and the metal scene distanced itself quickly and firmly. Lambesis later tried to explain his actions, blaming steroid use and a mental health crisis, but the explanation did little to repair the damage. After his release, he attempted a comeback. He reformed As I Lay Dying with some of the original members and released new music. But the return was met with suspicion and backlash. Some venues refused to book them. Critics questioned whether he should be allowed back at all. Lambesis became a symbol of how one decision can destroy everything built over years. His talent became irrelevant in the face of the horrible crime. Even those willing to give second chances couldn't ignore the depth of the betrayal. 12. Jeff Hanneman, Slayer. Jeff Hanneman helped define Slayer's sound. His riffs shaped an entire genre of fast, aggressive music. He was respected by fans and peers for his style and creativity. But in 2011, something unexpected happened. A spider bite led to a rare flesh-eating disease that attacked his arm. The infection forced him off the road and out of the studio. What started as a health scare quickly turned into something far more serious. Jeff tried to recover, but his body couldn't bounce back the way fans hoped. As months passed, he remained absent from Slayer's tours and recordings. The band carried on, but something was missing. Jeff had been more than just a guitarist. He was a driving force. In 2013, he passed away from liver failure, which was linked to his drinking habits. His death hit the metal world hard. Unlike others on this list, Jeff didn't fall due to scandal or violence. His downfall came from a mix of bad luck and personal habits that caught up with him. Fans still honor his work and remember him with respect. He didn't lose credibility, he lost time. And the music world lost a key figure long before it was ready to say goodbye. 13. Paul Di'Anno, Iron Maiden. Paul Di'Anno was Iron Maiden's first voice. He gave the band its rough edge in the early days, mixing punk energy with heavy metal. On stage, he had a raw power that matched the band's aggressive music. His voice wasn't perfect, but it fit. Fans noticed him. He helped put the band on the map. But while the band climbed up, Di'Anno began slipping. He was unreliable. He missed shows. When he showed up, his performances often fell short. He also started using illegal substances heavily, and the problems stacked up. Tensions inside the band grew. The rest of Iron Maiden wanted to move forward, but Di'Anno made it harder. He didn't rehearse enough. He wasn't focused. The gap between him and the rest of the group widened. By 1981, the band had a decision to make. They chose to let him go. It was a sharp move, but not a surprise to those paying attention. They brought in Bruce Dickinson, a singer with more range, more control, and more drive. The difference was immediate. Iron Maiden got tighter, louder, and more ambitious. Their music changed. Their shows got bigger. Di'Anno was left behind. After Iron Maiden, Di'Anno tried to stay in the music scene. He formed bands. He played small gigs. He recorded albums. But the truth was hard to escape. Without Iron Maiden, he never found the same level of success. His new music didn't catch fire. His health problems and continued struggles with illegal substances didn't help either. Interviews with him later showed a man stuck in the past, often blaming others for his fall. The music world kept moving. Di'Anno didn't. 14. Pete Doherty, Baby Shambles. Pete Doherty stood out when he hit the scene. He had a style, a mix of rock, punk, and poetry. He helped lead the Libertines, then Baby Shambles. At first, people saw promise. Critics said he had the kind of voice and writing that could shape a new generation of British rock. But that spark didn't last. Doherty's problems off stage became more famous than his music. His use of illegal substances was constant. He didn't hide it. Arrests piled up. He'd show up to shows late or not at all. Fans got tired. So did his bandmates. Recording sessions fell apart. Tour schedules collapsed. His talent seemed buried under the mess. At times, there were short bursts of brilliance. A song here, a show there. Enough to remind people what could have been. But those moments got lost. Journalists stopped writing about his music and focused on court dates, rehab visits, and chaos. His romantic relationships with celebrities only added fuel. 15. Nicko McBrain, Iron Maiden. Nicko McBrain held the drum seat for Iron Maiden for decades. He joined in 1982, just in time for the band's meteoric rise during the golden era of heavy metal. His tight, energetic, and often complex drumming played a crucial role in defining the band's signature sound. For years, he performed with consistent precision, stamina, and presence. But in January 2023, McBrain suffered a stroke. The medical event left him with partial paralysis on his right side. Recovery was difficult, and it was clear that things would not return to normal. Despite the physical limitations he faced after the stroke, McBrain chose to rejoin the band for their 2024 tour. The choice showed dedication, but the impact on his performance was hard to miss. During a show in Brisbane, fans and critics noticed that his drumming lacked the speed and accuracy they had come to expect. Timing issues crept in, the rhythm section wobbled, and the energy wasn't there. McBrain's presence behind the kit looked more like a struggle than a performance. There was sympathy, of course. He had spent decades entertaining crowds across the globe and building a reputation as one of metal's most consistent drummers. But even loyalty from fans couldn't mask the fact that he wasn't able to keep up with the demands of Iron Maiden's high-energy live sets. The band is known for long shows, fast songs, and intricate changes. That level of performance simply became too much. Following the tour, McBrain made the decision to retire. He stepped away quietly, with little fanfare. It wasn't a dramatic exit, but it was final. Years of dependable performance came to a close due to circumstances outside his control. He left behind a strong legacy, but his final appearances were reminders of human limits. The body, no matter how trained, has its breaking point. McBrain's career ended not in disgrace, but in quiet decline, overshadowed by the physical toll of age and injury. 16. Gaal Gorgoroth. Gaal, the stage name of Christian Espedal, rose to fame as the frontman of the Norwegian black metal band Gorgoroth. Known for his piercing glare, icy demeanor, and theatrical stage presence, he quickly became one of the most talked about figures in black metal. His performances were often shrouded in controversy and shocking imagery, aligning closely with the extreme ideologies and aesthetics associated with the genre. But his story isn't just about performance. His personal life and criminal record drew just as much attention as his work on stage. In 2002, Gayal was convicted and sentenced to 12 months in prison for an assault that had occurred 2 years earlier. The details of the incident were grim and unsettling. Then, in 2004, he faced further legal trouble, another conviction for aggravated assault stemming from a 2002 altercation. According to the accusations, Gayal severely beat a man and then reportedly collected his blood in a cup. These incidents weren't part of a stage show or artistic stunt. They were real violent events that stained his reputation. In the same year, Gorgoroth staged a highly controversial concert in Kraków, Poland. The stage was decked out with severed sheep heads, impaled crucifixes, models tied to crosses, and large amounts of blood. It immediately sparked a police investigation. Authorities looked into possible religious offenses and cruelty to animals. Though no charges were officially filed, the fallout was immediate. Their record label severed ties with the band, and the public backlash was swift. The incident became a defining moment in the band's career, but not for the right reasons. Instead of bringing lasting notoriety in a positive sense, the Kraków performance and Gayal's criminal record became baggage the band struggled to carry. His image, while once seen as part of the shock and awe of black metal, began to attract more criticism than praise. Gayal's actions off stage began to overshadow his musical contributions. Legal troubles, negative press, and burned professional relationships started piling up. His presence became polarizing even within the black metal community. Eventually, Gayal parted ways with Gorgoroth. He went on to explore other musical paths and even experimented with different genres, showing a broader artistic range than his Gorgoroth image had allowed. But the legacy of his time with the band remains heavily colored by violence and controversy. He left behind a complicated trail, not easily summarized by either his vocal talent or his theatrical sense of showmanship. In the end, it wasn't just the music that people remembered. It was everything else. 17. Coal Chamber. Coal Chamber was loud, dark, and full of power. They had a style that made them stand out in the late 90s and early 2000s. Their music hit hard, and fans loved their wild look and raw energy. But behind the noise was a storm waiting to explode. Inside the band, people weren't getting along. It wasn't the fans or the songs that ruined them. It was what happened when the music stopped. Singer Des Fafara and guitarist Migs Rascon couldn't agree on anything. They fought a lot, not just in private. They argued in front of crowds, right on stage. People saw the anger, the yelling, the looks that could cut like glass. It made fans feel awkward. What was supposed to be a show turned into a fight. And off stage, things were worse. Some band members had problems with illegal substances. That made trust hard. That made working together feel impossible. By 2003, it was all too much. The band broke apart. They said they would take a break, but the truth was, the magic was gone. Years later, they tried to come back, but it didn't feel the same. The anger had left a mark that couldn't be wiped away. Coal Chamber is a perfect example of how a band can ruin itself without any help from the outside world. They had the fans, the sound, and the stage, but they lost each other. 18. Paul Bostaph, Slayer. Paul Bostaph took over the drums for Slayer in 1992 after Dave Lombardo left. Many fans were unsure about the switch, but Bostaph brought a heavy, fast style that fit the band's sound. He played on 4 Slayer albums, including Divine Intervention and God Hates Us All. His drumming helped shape some of Slayer's darkest and angriest music of that time. But by the end of 2001, things changed. During the God Hates Us All tour, Bosstaff walked away. The public was told it was because of an arm injury. That sounded simple, but the real story was different. Bosstaff later said the problem wasn't physical. He just felt done. He wanted to try other music and leave Slayer behind. It wasn't about drama. It was about moving on. Maybe the band had run its course for him. Maybe he didn't feel connected anymore. Either way, he left the noise behind. After leaving, Bosstaff joined a lesser-known group called Systematic. He kept pushing forward and later found his way into Testament in 2004, another respected metal band. He seemed to be searching for a place where he could play hard and still grow. Years passed, but Slayer came calling again. In 2013, Bosstaff rejoined the group, stepping in for Lombardo one more time. Maybe it was unfinished business. Maybe it was comfort. But it made people wonder, was Slayer really behind him, or was it the only place that truly fit? 19. Christian Witch Hunter Dudek, Sodom. Christian Dudek, better known by his stage name Witch Hunter, was the original drummer for the German thrash metal band Sodom. He joined the group when he was just 16 years old, bringing youthful energy and raw aggression to their early recordings. As a founding member, Dudek had a major hand in shaping Sodom's early sound, helping them rise during the early wave of European thrash metal. His pounding, high-speed drumming style contributed to the band's chaotic and harsh atmosphere, which resonated with fans during the 1980s underground metal movement. At first, things looked promising. Sodom gained traction, and their influence began to grow. However, as the years rolled by, Dudek developed a drinking habit that steadily worsened. What began as casual drinking escalated into dependence. His behavior off-stage became increasingly erratic. Missed rehearsals, poor performance at live shows, and conflict with other band members became common. While the rest of the band tried to keep moving forward, Dudek's problems started holding them back. By 1992, the situation reached a breaking point. The band could no longer ignore the damage his alcohol-related violence was causing. After years of tension and failed attempts to get things under control, the decision was made to remove him from Sodom. It wasn't a sudden move. It was the result of years of buildup, a slow erosion of trust and reliability. Dudek's departure from the band left a deep mark, as he had been a part of its foundation. After being dismissed, he attempted to reignite his career by starting new projects and joining smaller bands, but nothing gained traction. The industry had moved on, and his reputation followed him. Musicians and promoters were hesitant to work with someone viewed as unreliable. Even his talent couldn't undo the damage caused by years of instability. His health began to deteriorate. The long-term effects of alcohol-related issues started catching up to him. Over time, his physical condition worsened, and his ability to play diminished. Dudek remained mostly out of the public eye in his later years, with few updates and even fewer appearances. He passed away on September 8, 2008, at the age of 42, due to liver failure. His death was a grim reminder of the consequences that come with unchecked personal issues. Despite his early contributions to metal, his legacy remains mixed, marked by talent, but also by a steady decline and a career that never reached its full potential. 20. Anthony Webster, Gel. Anthony Webster served as the guitarist for the hardcore punk band Gel, a group known for raw energy and blistering short tracks. For a time, the band was on the rise, gaining momentum in a tightly knit scene. Their sound was aggressive, their performances intense, and their following loyal. But the band's upward trajectory came to a halt in 2025, when accusations against Webster surfaced, shaking the group to its core. It started with financial irregularities. band members noticed missing funds and inconsistent account balances. Eventually, it was revealed that Webster had misused thousands of dollars from the band's shared earnings. Reports pointed to personal spending, subscriptions to adult content services, and unrelated luxury expenses. This breach of trust alone was serious enough to cause tension and doubt among the band. But the story didn't stop there. Additional accusations came to light, including claims that Webster had leaked intimate photos of other band members without consent. This move, seen as both invasive and deeply unethical, sent shockwaves through the group. The damage was immediate and irreversible. Relationships within the band collapsed, and trust was gone. Publicly, the band's image took a major hit. Fans who once supported them turned away. Venues distanced themselves. The internal fallout became external quickly. Efforts to repair the situation failed. The band couldn't recover from such a fundamental breakdown of ethics and privacy. Within weeks, they announced their dissolution. Webster's choices didn't just sabotage a career, they destroyed a working band from the inside. What had once been a promising force in hardcore music was now remembered for betrayal and scandal. It served as a cautionary tale, not about the dangers of the industry, but about the damage that comes when integrity is lost within a team. Webster's legacy was sealed not with a final performance or a breakout record, but with the collapse of a band undone by its own member.